Everybody's always talking about agents these days, and agent this, agent that. And I want to clarify what an agent is in the context of works, what it represents in translation and localization. And if you're interested, stick around and find out. So the idea of an agent comes from the idea of agency, which is the idea of being able to be responsible or owning one's own decisions. And the agent contrasts with other algorithms that are non-agentic, let's say, in the sense that it has a greater capability of decision making. So let's look at a simple example, right? If you look at a scheduler and you schedule a meeting, you're inputting your data into a database, and that database is changing the status of something based on your actions, but basically you are starting the actions and you're working with a static database that's then reacting to that. And the agent kind of flips that relationship around in multiple different levels. First is when you go from a relational database to a vectorial database, different associations can be made that are much more subtle and complex than ones in relational database. Also more unpredictable as well. Now, when you add that to the scene and now you add generative AI to the mix, you can enable different associations to be made. So in the scheduler example, if you create a scheduler agent, now that piece of AI can look, for instance, at your scheduler and look at your calendar and decide, okay, maybe there's an opening on Monday morning that's going to be better for you than on Tuesday, right? It can help you make those decisions, or when it's a full-on agent, can even make those decisions for you. So there are degrees of agency, right? So when people talk about agents, they're talking about deferring a certain level of ownership or responsibility to a generative AI algorithm. And what happens is a few different things, right? On one hand, you can become a lot more productive. On the other, it's a lot harder to control and understand what you're doing with that. So our stance with language has always been one about human ownership and authorship. That's always been really, really important for us. So the agents that we developed at Works were from the very beginning. Our first agents in Works went live in 2023, and they were all about aiding, and still are, all about aiding the human behind the wheel, right? So let's say, for instance, the first agent that we created was a context-sensitive agent. And the context-sensitive agent is essentially a RAG that's looking at your knowledge from different translations in the past, looking at your terminology, looking at reference materials, looking at potential different preferences, and suggesting a translation that it makes most sense given everything that you've translated in the past, right? So that's the context sensitivity agent that we developed. Now, what happens is over time, we begin to realize that there's a lot more potential for this agent than just suggesting the next translation. We begin understanding, okay, this piece of AI has, if you give it those rights, it can look into the specific knowledge base that you have for all of your past translations for that specific documents. It can look at your terminology. It can look at your style guides. It can look at reference material. And we can add instrumentation to it, which we did via sous chef. So you can start to say, okay, do all of that and make it more informal or make it particular for a certain kind of demographic or make it in a certain style. And that's the sous chef layer that we added to that. So we began looking at that. We realized, okay, this is super powerful when interacting with a human within our translation editor environment. And again, in this case, the human is going sentence per sentence and validating what the agent is suggesting. And based on their validations, the agent is learning. So it's a really interesting iterative loop. But we realized, okay, we can do that for entire file sets. That's great, right? And we can begin to extrapolate the actions of these agents to larger data sets. Now, what happens when you do that is that the demand for observability becomes a lot higher, right? You're no longer just now worried about what the agent is doing. You need to be able to go back and understand what was done, why it was done in a given way, and how you can configure that to be done differently. And that's what a lot of people, I think, misunderstand about the capabilities of generative AI. While it's amazing and life-changing, if you don't have the right tools to be able to observe what the AI is doing for your particular vertical, whether it's legal, whether it's chemical, whether it's medical, whether it's mechanical, doesn't matter what the vertical is. You need specific tools, and this is where Works comes in, that allows you to understand exactly what this agent is doing, why it's doing it, and allows you to improve on that, right? So let's say the agent is using a certain tone that you don't like. You can tweak that. The agent is using a certain terminology that you don't like. You can tweak that. You can understand the rationale, and you're not working only with a model that you're continuously tuning and trying to understand what's going on. You're working with a framework that allows you to have a lot of control control over all of the inputs and consequently all of the outputs as well, and the parameters that stand between them, without having to worry about model weights and model training, etc. So when we began to think of agents, we began to think about these assistants that can be used with larger data sets, with more or less degrees of freedom according to what the user sets. And for instance, so the context-sensitive agent can translate large data sets with incredible degrees of not just accuracy, but personalization, right? And that's super important. We developed another agent called Smells that was a semantic agent that was supposed to work, and is supposed to work, as a adversarial check for the context sensitivity. So Smells is, let's say, a inconvenience on purpose. It's looking for problems in the translation. It's looking for potential pitfalls, cultural pitfalls, omissions, additions, deviations in meaning, style, etc. So Smells is literally sniffing out potential issues with language, and it can be really helpful. Again, what we're doing there is we're adding more capabilities for users to calibrate how that agent works. Does it take into account your past translations? Does it take into account your past decisions? How does it fix your sentences? Does it take into account its fixes and so on? So each of these agents is its entire world, let's say, in the sense of its own configurations, its own data sets, and they can work together to produce incredible results, right? If you have context sensitivity that's really well calibrated and on brand, for instance, and you have an agent that's also calibrated to your demographic, you have a very tight process that can produce really powerful translations. And if you have a human that's managing all of that, that's owning all of that, they can move incredibly fast through all of that content. So that's what an agent can do in Works, right? You can configure them, you can deploy them, they can work either along your side, or they can work through an entire workflow without intervention. It's entirely up to you and how you configure that. But essentially, the way we see them as cognitive assistants, right? And the way we understand the direction that language is taking and translation is taking, there's incredible emphasis in being able to really dial in how each of these agents behave, because the results can differ so much, right? So when everybody says, let's say, a generative AI is so capable, it's so powerful, language is a solved issue for generative AI. Maybe they're correct, but language is incredibly granular, right? So maybe you have great translations, but they're just not on brand. Maybe they're not edgy enough. Maybe they're not informal enough. Maybe they're not using your SEO key terms or your GEO key terms. Maybe they're written in a way that's just too complex or too simple. And if for every given translation you have to iterate with a model, it becomes completely unsustainable. If you can tweak it, if you can dial it in with these agents, as I mentioned, like context sensitivity and like Smells and others that we have, once you tweak it, once you dial it in, it's set, right? So then you can process an immense amount of data through that without having to recalibrate every single time or without having to worry about what's going on in there. So instead of having a black box, you have a really transparent box. Not only that, you don't have to worry about formatting because Works handles all of that. So models can have an incredible hard time with file format preservation, tag structure itself when you're working with larger files particularly, but even for smaller files, it can produce a lot of slip-ups in that. So when you're working with a framework like Works, you have that added layer of guarantees. Not only that, because of our model, all of the knowledge is being managed and kept inside Works. So that meets not only data residency requirements, but it really diminishes the need to worry about models. We only work with stateless models as default models. You can always plug in your own and make them not stateless. But Works itself, you can have that peace of mind, knowing that your data isn't being trained, being used as training material for any of these models, knowing that all of your parameters are residing in a platform that has your account, your data, and essentially, let's say you're not happy with the results, as an example, let's say that GPT 5.4 is producing, you can switch to Claude Opus 4.6, no problem. If you want to go with another model family, you can do that as well, no problem. And the key thing is you can really have a lot of flexibility and a lot of customizability, sustainability, scalability. So that's our goal, that's our focus when we look at agents, when we look at AI. And I would love to know if you have any questions. This is something that we're rolling out this year continuously, ever more flexibility, both with models and how these agents perform. And we're super excited because, in our opinion, if deployed correctly, they don't extinguish by any means the need of humans managing the process. In fact, it only serves to further empower them, but really in two different capacities. One, in understanding, surveying, and calibrating all of these configurations. And like I said, these can be really complex configurations, deciding what the data set is, deciding how it's being worked, deciding any of the parameters, deciding the parameters of agents that control and audit that work, right? So there's all of that, the workflow, architecture, etc. Then there's all the auditing work as well, because whatever these agents produce, at least in my opinion, it's very important to be audited by humans in some level, whether the entire text is going to be audited, whether it's going to be by sample, whether it's going to be by things that are being flagged with AI. I mean, these can be controlled by the user, but in my opinion, super important for many different reasons. There's obviously compliance issues, there's obviously legal issues around the text having an author, but I really believe that fundamentally language needs to have someone who stands behind that, because if we're living in a world where you have a very large amount of content that nobody stands behind, essentially create a situation where content becomes worthless because it doesn't mean anything anymore. So in order, my opinion, meaning resides from embodied consciousness. You need someone behind the text. You need some form of author, even though the authorship method can be entirely produced differently, right? So there are social experiments, for instance, of people who wrote entire books that they say, I didn't write a single word, but I authored that book. They did it through entire prompt engineering, but they feel they owned every single output, not the words themselves, but the outputs. So it's a shift in mentality, but I still believe that humans are incredibly important, even more so, and hopefully using higher cognitive capacities that are more valuable and have greater impact, both for themselves financially as well as for the greater good of society. Maybe a little bit utopian, yes, but you got to be hopeful. What other choice do we have, right? Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Bye-bye.